Hey there, true champions of the cause. Welcome back to Starplanet Manga Subterranea. This is the show where we dive headfirst into the obscure, the shadowy, and the often overlooked masterpieces from Japan, the ones that deserve way more love. On this series, we're peeling back the layers on a super secretive group of mangaka that love to stay hidden. They operate out of their own little dark web forum, crafting mini manga that we'd call mini comics here in the West. And this underground crew, they go by the name Hatsupi Iwiru Kuru, aka the Happy Evil Crew. These artists have been doing their thing since 2006. Yes, that long. But get this, they don't just upload their work to their dark web forums. Nope, they go the extra mile and self-print these low page count manga and leave them in the most random places across Japan. We're talking bus stops, public restrooms, massage parlors, and yes, brothels. Yikes. People have even found them tucked away in library books, hidden between the pages of other manga, under doormats, and get this, recently even stuffed in Uber Eats deliveries. When I heard about this underground treasure hunt, I had to find out more. So today, we're continuing our dive into the work of one of the founding artists of the crew, the enigmatic Rat. I'll be breaking down his story, translating it, and giving you the dramatic play-by-play because honestly, this stuff is wild. But hey, if you're new here and don't know much about Rat or the Happy Evil Crew, hit pause, go check out episode 1. In that episode, we covered Rat's first ever self-published manga, his background as an artist, and how this secretive crew got started. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, let's talk about Rat as an artist. He's often compared to graffiti artists, and honestly, that's a perfect analogy. Why? Well, for starters, it's not just because of his raw avant-garde style. His art isn't made for financial gain. Outside of his closed forum, Rat's work is literally gifted to the public, left in these random spots for anyone to find and appreciate. And then there's the name, Rat. It's like a graffiti tag, a single pseudonym, mysterious anonymous calling card. Now, Rat's work has this gritty, rebellious energy, and today's manga is a perfect example. Honestly, it wouldn't look out of place spray painted on a wall in some shadowy alley or on the side of an old train. It's raw, chaotic, and so uniquely Rat. When asked about what inspired today's manga, Rat had this to say: "This manga was inspired by the song Binu Hame Shikusinda, or She Died Beautifully, by the legendary neo-trash band Matsunaga vs. God." If you know anything about Matsunaga vs. God, you already know what kind of energy we're walking into: aggressive, haunting, yet oddly beautiful. And Rat captures all of that in his art. Yeah, that's the vibe we're dealing with today. So buckle up, true champions of the cause, no pun intended, because this is going to be a ride. Let's dive into the next chapter of Rat's twisted genius and unravel another hidden gem from the underground. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're into obscure manga, underground artists, or just love hearing about the wild stuff that slips under the radar. And hey, if you've ever found one of these mysterious manga in the wild, let me know in the comments. I need to hear those stories. All right, let's get into it. This is Rat number 2. Alright, so firstly, Rat has decided to print his mini manga on this wild puke green paper this time, and I think it is quite striking. As for the story, well, let me just say you're not going to believe how this one ends. We're immediately greeted by a dynamic image of a sports car bursting off the page. Rat's talent shines through here. The car is drawn with perfect precision, but it's deliberately ratified with chaotic scribbly lines. This level of skill is what fuels those ongoing rumors about Rat being an actual mangaka, maybe an assistant or even a published creator. Who knows? Rat isn't saying, but the art speaks for itself. The first panel plunges us into a high-octane scene, the sports car zooming through a Japanese city. Rat doesn't rely on the standard manga speed lines. Instead, the city itself distorts around the car, conveying its sheer velocity. This technique, paired with Rat's impeccable sense of perspective, makes for a thrilling introduction. One of my favorite panels shows the car under an overhead walkway. Every detail of the city perfectly sketched despite Rat's rough aesthetic. It's moments like these that make you wonder if Rat meticulously plans every line, only to deliberately mess it up for style. You can almost imagine him ruling it all out perfectly only to ink it freehand, kind of like a punk rock version of Mobius. 2 more panels of the car blasting through the city streets finish off the page before, boom, an overhead shot of the car speeding through a quiet back street. Let's talk about Rat's color choices here. A dull gray car against that puke green paper. It shouldn't work, but it totally does. It's a bold design choice and it makes the whole page pop. Fast forward to the next page and we're in the driver's seat. The perspective? Chef's kiss again. The driver's in red and the car is all sketchy, like it's distorting from speed. It's wild. Then we see the driver wrestling with the wheel, the city flying by in streaks of light. The storytelling is so immersive. You feel like you're in the car, holding on for dear life. Next up, we've got this super dynamic sequence where it feels like the camera literally jumps out of the car. The next panel gives us this intense view of the driver wrestling with the steering wheel, totally fighting to keep control. Meanwhile, the world outside, it's a complete blur, just streaks of light and motion flying past, really selling that sense of speed. And then the last panel, it's this back shot of the car tearing off into the distance, leaving the camera in the dust. Such a cinematic vibe. It's like watching a high-octane action movie unfold on paper. Then we get to this shot of the car in a tunnel. The car looks like it's on the verge of falling apart from sheer speed. The next few panels zoom by, showing the driver wrestling with the wheel as the world flies by. Rat's not just flexing his technical skills, he's building this tension that keeps you hooked. Then bam, this beautiful establishing shot of a Japanese cityscape. Again, the perspective is spot on. Like if you're sitting there thinking, does Rat even know what he's doing? Let me stop you right there. Yes, he absolutely does. Every single page is a flex of artistic skill and it's undeniable. Oh, and those scribbled love hearts? They're scattered throughout, almost like breadcrumbs leading us to the next page. So then we switch gears, literally and figuratively. The car takes a back seat as we jump to the next page. We're greeted with this beautifully cinematic long panel. A downward shot of some nightclub steps. In the top right corner, the text says Suta Raito Naito Kurabu, or Starlight Nightclub. It's so atmospheric, and those scribbled love hearts we've been following? Yeah. They lead us to this girl with adorable cat ears on her head, clearly someone with impeccable taste. She's standing there saying Oyasumi nasai, good night, as she starts descending the stairs. The next panel gives us a closer look at her. And wow, she's stunning. Young, vibrant, full of life. She's waving to her friends, casually saying, "Bye-bye everyone," as she heads out into the night. It's such a calm, almost serene moment, but knowing Rat, you can feel the tension bubbling underneath. All right, turning the page, we follow the girl as she moves deeper into the city. And maybe it's just me, but it feels like the backgrounds are starting to shift, getting darker, moodier. In the first panel, you've got these rough but deliberate marks in the background that represent the glow of lights and shop fronts. It's all alive, bustling. But then, in the second panel, the vibe changes. The darkness starts creeping in, almost like it's swallowing the city whole. By the time we hit the final panel on the page, the girl is just this solitary figure, completely surrounded by shadows. All right, flipping to the next page, and boom, we're hit with another stunning illustration of that car. It's barreling straight toward the camera and Rat nails the intensity. Those rough, chaotic streaks mimic the blur of streetlights and city glow whipping past at insane speeds. Then we cut to the next panel, and it gets even more interesting. The driver glances down at the passenger seat. Now, here's where Rat shows off his knack for storytelling through subtle details. That quick shift in focus, it's got you wondering. So the driver reaches over and picks up a mobile phone. Yes, while speeding through the city at breakneck speed. And then we hit that last panel, the one that makes me stop and go, "Rat, who are you?" This is more than just some dude drawing obscure stories that only a handful of people see. Look at this panel. The display of speed, the chaos of the car sliding wildly around a corner, it's incredible. The taillights are this abstracted blur, streaking like liquid light, and it screams pure adrenaline. It's the kind of artistry you'd expect in a mainstream manga, no question about it. And then, bam, we're treated to a beautifully composed splash page. The driver's hand grips an old Nokia phone. Yep, a Nokia. Talk about retro. I had to laugh because, wow, what a way to timestamp this mini manga. But let's be real, retro is always cycling back into cool. Honestly, who still has a Nokia these days? Is Nokia even a thing anymore? If you know, hit me up in the comments because now I'm curious. And here's where Rat's storytelling takes another level. Along the left-hand side of the splash page, the text reflects the message displayed on the Nokia's screen. It reads, "Jia nirun janakute kurabu nirunda. Yutta desho, mo ai itaku nai tte." Translated, it says, "I'm not at home, I'm at the club. I told you I don't want to see you anymore." Ouch. That's a gut punch of a message. Rat has this knack for making small details carry huge emotional weight. That single message tells us volumes about this driver's state of mind. The text leads our eye through the page, the psychotic look of the driver, looming like a shadow behind the car, an image so striking it could easily pass for a movie poster or an ad. And here's where things take a dramatic and gut-punching turn. As we flip the page, we're hit with this intense, heart-stopping panel. It's a shot from the driver's perspective, and there she is, the girl, frozen, caught in the headlights, her face a mix of fear and surprise. Then, in the next panel, bam! The car slams into her, sending her flying through the air in what can only be described as an explosively chaotic and devastating shot. Rat absolutely nails the impact here, illustrating it with a level of raw intensity and drama that leaves you breathless. The splatters of pink and blue streaking across the panel feel like an abstract representation of the violence, and yet they're strangely beautiful. It's like a twisted kind of art that only Rat could pull off. The splatters of pink and blue perfectly illustrate the horrifying aftermath of the impact, creating this surreal, almost artful chaos. And then, get this, you glance down to the bottom left-hand corner of the panel, and what do you see? A Yokohama Tires logo. That's right, folks. Everything suddenly clicks into place. The way Rat illustrated the car tearing through the streets, the cinematic framing of each panel, it was all building up to this twist. The entire mini manga was a twisted, dark, and utterly brilliant car ad. Rat wasn't just telling a story. He was mimicking the slick, high-octane style of car commercials. Yeah, it's grim. Yeah, it's twisted. But come on, you have to admit, it's also kinda genius. You never saw that ending coming, right? Honestly, go back and rewatch this episode with something like Vampire Weekend's Holiday or Eminem's Lose Yourself playing in the background. The whole vibe just hits differently when you realize it was all a dark parody of a car ad. And that wraps up Rat number 2. What a wild ride this has been, right? If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the creative madness of underground manga. Oh, and be sure to check out Starplanet Darkside. That's where Rookie and I take you on a journey through anime and cartoons from across the multiverse. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time, true champions of the cause, I've been your host, Trini, and this has been Starplanet Manga Subterranea. Stay unique, stay cool, and stay weird. Bye, everyone!